Being in a toxic work environment can destroy your confidence. A toxic boss or a toxic team can make you question your capabilities, make you feel incompetent, and worst of all, make you lose sight of exactly how awesome you are. This hurts you in your next career move and might even keep you stuck in a toxic job. How can you rebuild your confidence after you leave a toxic work environment? That's exactly what we're talking about today. Hello, my career besties, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. For videos about toxic workplace survival, recovery, and success after leaving a toxic job, tap the subscription button and the notification bell. I release at least one new video each week. There are 5 steps that you need to take in order to rebuild your confidence at work. Okay, and one bonus one if you stay all the way to the end. These are the exact steps that I followed to rebuild my confidence when I left my toxic job and how my clients have refound their confidence after leaving a toxic work environment. And don't worry, if you are still in a toxic job, you can start doing this work in order to rebuild your confidence right now. That all sounds good to you? Tap the like button and let's just jump straight into it. First of all, you need to know how confidence is actually created. There are 2 different ways that we create confidence. We can create confidence externally and we can create confidence internally. In my experience, most people build their confidence through external means. This is why likes and comments in social media make us feel so good. And in my opinion, this is a byproduct of how most of us are raised. Most of us go to school, we try to earn good grades, that validates that we're smart, that we're awesome. If we're good enough, we're getting awards, which is giving us more external validation to our awesomeness, and then getting praise from our family, from our friends, and from our peers. These external validating events, like your grades, the praise, the awards, all deliver tiny dopamine hits that make us feel good, and specifically good about ourselves. However, this is where things get really finicky, especially if you have been or are in a toxic work environment. Because in a toxic workplace, you are not getting any external validation or very limited amounts. Your toxic boss is not dishing out the compliments and they're probably pretty stringy on handing out awards, unless it makes them look good. So if you are someone who really builds confidence through the inputs that you're getting from other people, your confidence starts to decrease. It really starts to suffer. And especially if we inverse that external input, and let's say that you have an overly critical boss, you have coworkers that are undermining you or questioning the work that you do. These are all things that don't just take away how we get confidence, they're also directly decreasing the confidence that we do have. Luckily, this isn't the only way to become confident AF. Confidence can also be an inside job. The advantage of internal confidence is it does tend to be much steadier than external confidence, which is going to be situational and dependent on the people around you. And this is one of the reasons why you guys hear me talk about UAQ, your unique awesomeness quotient, so much, because awareness of why you are great is going to help you intellectually understand why you're awesome, which is going to help you build that inner belief in your own awesomeness and your potential at work as well. And this isn't all just about how we're raised or how we decide to show up. There is a natural inclination to build your confidence externally or build your confidence internally. I'm one of the lucky ones that just naturally tends to build confidence within me. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, and both are very important because it's not either or. It really is both, especially when it comes to rebuilding your confidence after a toxic work environment. That said, what I encourage you to do is to start building your own self-awareness, focusing on developing your UAQ and your self-acceptance. This is going to help you elevate your inner confidence. So it's nice when it's validated by the external world, but it's still there and can help you weather the storm when you're facing adversity at work. The next step to rebuild confidence at work after a toxic job or toxic work environment is to curate the Fs that you give. You need to invest those Fs wisely. For example, does your toxic boss's opinion really matter? Okay, I know that they can do things like potentially reprimand you, deny you promotions or pay increases, and maybe even fire you. But once you've escaped, the criticisms that they had and the opinions that they had, you have to ask yourself, does it actually matter? Were they really valid? Because if that toxic boss was just an overly critical and unfair human being, you shouldn't be investing any Fs there. Another thing that can really help you invest your Fs strategically at work is figuring out how to take things less personally. I recently did a whole video, so I won't go on and on about it, but I will link that in the description down below in case you want to check it out after this one. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying that you shouldn't care at all and that you should disregard everyone's opinion. No, we want to be critical thinkers. But if you are in a toxic work environment or you recently left a toxic environment, you might need to care a little bit less for your own well-being. And I also, again, returning back to that considering the source, if that source person, whether it was a toxic boss or a toxic coworker, doesn't really care about you, how much should you really care about their opinion? Especially if you've left and it no longer impacts your job. I would like you to commit to considering the source and really evaluating the feedback. You can do that by typing "I'll consider the source" in the comments down below. At this point, I really want to turn inward because again, I think that if we raise our internal confidence baseline up, it's going to help us a lot in recovering and rebuilding our confidence at work. So the next step to rebuild confidence is to create your inventory of awesomeness. And actually, this can be internal and external. If you want to start externally with how people perceive you, you absolutely can. Compile compliments that you've gotten from customers and coworkers. Survey people that you work with that you have positive relationships with. You can look back to compliments that you've gotten, awards that you've been given, and any time that you were acknowledged. Or if you have coworkers or friends that you have positive and productive working relationships with, you can even ask them for some input and for some positive feedback that's going to make you feel good. Sometimes what you really need is a little bit of a hype squad situation going on. When you turn it internally, one great way to start is to just start writing down all of the great things that you have done and all of the fantastic things that you have accomplished at work. And really, this is something that you should maintain and do on a weekly basis. And I would actually encourage you to keep your inventory of awesomeness updated at least once a week. Write down one win that you had at work. So you don't just do it one time to build confidence, you do it continually to cultivate confidence. And side note, this inventory of awesomeness can come in very handy when you're doing things like writing a resume, updating your LinkedIn profile, or preparing for an interview. Sometimes you've done so much good stuff that you kind of forget about it or it feels kind of normal. So this inventory of awesomeness can be very, very helpful. Now, when I said to sit down and write all the great things that you did, or maybe when you sit down to do it, your head might be like, there's not really much there. I can tell you that's a lie. And that brings us into our next step to build confidence at work after a toxic workplace. And that is to check our self-talk. Let's just face it, your toxic boss or your toxic coworkers might have gotten into your head just a little bit. They sowed the seeds of self-doubt, and honestly, for most of us, it's much easier to be critical of ourselves than it is to embrace our own awesomeness. And that's why I want you to set a new rule for yourself. Right now, you are no longer allowed to talk more shit about yourself than anyone else does. Toxic boss or toxic coworkers included. Does this mean that you're never going to have a negative thought about yourself again, or that you can't have negative thoughts about yourself? Absolutely not. First of all, we need to acknowledge and just accept our limitations, which I've talked about in videos before. But when you're really getting down on yourself and you're speaking to yourself in a way that you would never even dream about speaking to your best friend like, it's time for you to check yourself. Spot when those thoughts are actually happening. Acknowledge what it is. I'm feeling like a big dummy heading into this meeting. Then get curious about it. Why am I feeling this way? What is behind it? Do I have evidence that I'm a dummy, or do I have evidence that I'm actually pretty awesome? Chances are it's going to be the latter. When you consider the cases, what you're probably going to find is that the more logical conclusion is that you're pretty cool, you're not a dummy, and you can accept that that thought, that fear, that anxiety rose, but then you can also revise the story around it. And there's something that I think really helps you not only spot the self-talk and accept any limitations that you do have that have been not so kindly pointed out in a toxic work environment. And that actually leads us into our next step to build confidence at work after a toxic job, and that is to know your UAQ, your unique awesomeness quotient. I know you're like, Jennifer, I'm so sick of hearing about this, but seriously, This is life and career changing. Getting really clear on what you're good at, even if it's just from an intellectual, I acknowledge this information perspective, it's going to start to build confidence. And the more you're aware of your highest potential areas and your biggest strengths and the value that you bring to an organization, the more that you'll focus there. And the more you focus there and the more that you excel in those areas of your UAQ, the more evidence and the more feedback that you have internally about how great you are. So really, your UAQ becomes this awesome confidence building cycle that you can repeat again and again and again. Also, revisiting your UAQ frequently can help to reinforce it. If you don't already know your UAQ, I want you to go into the description bar. There is a link to download your free UAQ starter kit. Get started. It seriously is a game changer. And actually, I have a bonus step for you drawing from that one, and that is to get a career bestie or to work with your career bestie. That's me. Rebuilding your confidence is hard. And I can tell you behind the scenes, for the areas in which my confidence was dinged after leaving my toxic workplace, it took me a hypnotherapist, multiple coaches, and an awesome success squad to not just help me rebuild it, but to even grow it more to get to the point where I'm at today. Absolutely zero of that work was an accident, and it did not happen from me leaning back and wallowing in my misery. And it would have been easy, honestly, it would have been so easy to do that and walk through life feeling like that. But I didn't want that for me, and I absolutely do not want that for you. And that's exactly why I designed my new Toxic Job Detox program, which is launching soon. It's not good enough for you to survive after a toxic workplace. It's not okay for you to just kind of get back to an okay baseline. You deserve to thrive in your career. If you want to check it out, go to toxicjobdetox.com. All the information is there. However, not everyone is ready for recovery. I honestly do believe that sometimes we need to live in wallowing a bit, but I want you to start to prepare to make that toxic workplace recovery. Go and check out this video right now where I actually break down the full steps of toxic workplace recovery, including building your confidence so that you can learn more and plan to thrive. But before you go, if this video helps you prepare to build your confidence at work, give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. It makes you my favorite career bestie. As always, my friend, thank you so much for watching this video. Oh, consider subscribing if you haven't, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.